Namaste to all of you. I welcome all of you to this wonderful topic, Science of Consciousness, of which we had the first episode some time back. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Vrajpatiji gave us a brief introduction of basic materialism and the main philosophies of consciousness. And now this is the second event where we shall be listening to Dr. Rajendra Swamiji, who will be now proceeding with the subject. Now, while listening to the last episode, I had devoted some time to pondering over the subject, and I could finally arrive on the facts that materialism and consciousness are basically divided into four parts, and the fifth part is definitely flowing from Vedantic thoughts and to materialism. The four parts basically I could conceive is materialism, then philosophical materialism, third one is consciousness, philosophical consciousness, and then the flow of consciousness from where it is emerging and the puzzle which is associated with this. As you all know, materialism is the philosophy that everything can be explained in terms of matter only. The idea that goods and wealth are the most important things. An example of materialism is that you express love in terms of material. You think that exchange of material things gives you the most of happiness. And this has been the general concept, say in the 16th or 17th centuries. And after that, when there was a period of romanticism in literature, and when the biologist Thomas Henry Huxley emerged, he was born in 1825, slowly people started discussing about philosophical materialism. Now, philosophical materialism has the concept that the very thought of consciousness that is emerging from the interaction of materials. We see materials all around us, but we also have the feeling that there's something which makes all these things move. Now, what philosophical materialism thinks that this movement is caused by interaction of materials, because whatever they see, that is the interaction of materials. Later on, little by little, after some time passed, people started pondering over the subject of consciousness. And as you all know, Simon Freud had discussed and had divided consciousness into three areas. The first area is consciousness itself, and then the pre-consciousness, then subconsciousness and non-consciousness. Now, all these four types of consciousness have been explained by him very thoroughly. But the very thought that consciousness has emerged out of material interaction, that thought has prevailed over the mind of human beings. Then came the very thought of philosophical consciousness, where persons like Thomas Henry Huxley, they started thinking that consciousness is the cause of, and is not the cause of, but is caused by material things. Now, whenever you ponder over all these four types of materials, the philosophical materialism, consciousness, philosophical consciousness, only one thing that has come to the mind of people is that the consciousness is caused by material interactions, and consciousness is not the very cause of these material things. Now, recently, a very important school of thought has developed, and people have started thinking more and more on this subject, but it has still become a very perplexed, very enigmatic subject before us, whether consciousness prevailed first or whether material prevailed first. The Vedantic theory has said that everything emerges from consciousness. So our Hindu school of philosophy, our Hindu school of thought flows from consciousness down to the earth, down to the material, whereas our human being and our present day scientific era, they think and they have their flow, they have their school of thought from material to consciousness. Now we shall be having today the second session on the subject, where there will be more and more thought brought to you on whether consciousness prevailed first, whether material prevailed first, or whether it is an interaction of both the things. Now, how consciousness prevails on material, whether material prevails on consciousness. So we have before us Dr. Brajendra Swamiji, but before that, our president of Bharatiya Sanskriti Sansad and Bharatiya Vidya Mandir, Dr. B.D. Mundra, I would request him to give a brief introduction of the speaker, Shri Brajendra Swamiji, and also give a brief introduction of the subject. So, Dr. B.D. Mundra, I would like you to start giving the introduction to today's program.
Thank you, Junjunwala ji. Namaskaram to everybody, and I welcome you, all of you, to this session. It is with kindness and all the humility and fellow feeling of Bhaktivedanta Institute, and particularly Brajapati Swamiji and Vijendra Swamiji and others, that we are able to organize this type of session. First, about Vijendra Swamiji. He is also known as Varun Agarwal. His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Swami graduated from prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, in aerospace engineering in 1999. He worked on a project of solar-powered aircraft and was ranked first in the entire department. However, his longing for something deeper about life, which always bothered him, finally culminated in meeting the illustrious scientist and saint Dr. T.D. Singh, that His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami. He was his guru. And he was founding director of Bhaktivedanta Institute. Seeing new things, he began studying ancient Vedantic wisdom under his guidance and dedicating himself completely for the cause of helping humanity through interface of scientific temper and spiritual wisdom. He is currently director of Bhaktivedanta Institute, Calcutta. Besides his various involvements, Varunji frequently travels across India, abroad, and interacts with scientists and scholars all over the world, including world-renowned universities of Harvard, Princeton, ETH, Stanford, and MIT. He is also editor of Bhaktivedanta Institute of reputed science and spirituality journal, Savijnana. My interaction with Swamiji has been for last 2 years. I find him a person deeply involved into the study. Every day he is immersed in his books and on his computer, and pays very little attention even to his health. That is our complaint to him. But he's a very humble person, very simple person, and very nice to talk to him. You see, friend, coming to the subject, this subject of consciousness has been bothering humanity for time immemorial. In India, more than 5,000 years. Our motto was Satya Dharmaya Drashtaya. We want to know Satya, the truth, and ultimate truth. Brihaspati Swamiji gave introduction of that, told us the story of Nachiketa and Yam Samvad, and the enigma which Nachiketa was having, to know that finally what happens and what is it, from where we emerged and where we will go. Similarly, there has been lot of discussions in our Shastras, particularly in Vedantic philosophy. But Buddhism and Jainism, they avoided this issue of consciousness. Friends, our mechanistic model, or present-day mechanistic model, is decrying the secrets of nature. Decrypting the secrets of nature have been growing exponentially in all fields of science through exponential or experimental toolbox. However, now we are facing foundational challenges in understanding the phenomena and nominal world. One of such core issues in modern science is encountering and explaining consciousness. Evidence of consciousness is self-evident. Aham, main, I, what I am. This is self-evident because every one of us has it, but the mystery of it still continues. What I am, where from I have come, where I will go. What was the question of Nachiketa that still ponders us? You see, the issue of consciousness have become emergent in various disciplines, ranging from dawn of quantum physics to present-day research in artificial intelligence and neurosciences, and in somewhere even in astrophysics also. We are still bothering. Right from the time of Einstein or Schrodinger, or later on de Broglie, Bohm. Recently, we have heard so many lectures of Kaku. But still, we have not reached a conclusion. Although, mainly scientists believe that it is out of matter and energy the consciousness emerges. It is interaction of chemicals and the electricity or electromagnetism which gets generated. But there are certain things which they are unable to explain. Say death, DNA. Or there are such issues which they are unable to explain, even through material sciences, even through biological sciences. And we are still searching. So some scientists have started believing that even in the matter, which is called Jada, there is some amount of consciousness. So consciousness is everywhere. This is, some people say. The other day, we had a conference where Amit Goswamiji was here. He's a great scientist. He said that this earth itself is conscious. Now, all these concepts, although not universal, universally accepted, but it is being discussed. So, in this presentation, we would like to ponder upon enigma of consciousness, what it poses by various founding fathers, and lay the road of to examine the issues and limitations of our mechanistic approach in probing various levels of reality, and also explore the possible solutions. So, I believe Swamiji is going to discuss what consciousness is and further where from it has emerged, how it interacts. But my first question was that what is the guna dharma, how it acts, what is the science of consciousness? So gradually we will go into that. This is a series of lectures. This is not just 2 lectures, it is a series of lectures, because this is a question which cannot be covered in 1 session or 2 sessions. So friends, please pay attention what Swamiji is saying, and we hope that you will enjoy it and get benefited by this and realize what is the value of our life and our consciousness. What is the meaning of it? So through these discussions, some thoughts, some ideas will be there, which we can ponder upon. Later on, after the talk, we can take up questions. These questions can be forwarded to us, which we will forward to Swamiji, and which he can answer if time is not permitting today, then in our next lecture. Thank you very much, and I am highly obliged to all of you who have encouraged us and graced the occasion. I welcome Vishpati Swamiji and Vijayendra Swamiji, both who are present, and all the members of Bhaktivedanta Institute who are here, and to all of you. So let's start.
Thank you, Mundraji. We'll start with a short prayer. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Anlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Our regards and gratitude to Bharatiya Sanskrit Sansad, especially to Shri Mundraji for thinking, conceiving and organizing such a series of lectures on a very vital topic, on a very profound topic of consciousness. So we are thankful to organize and involve us. We are delighted that we could be a part of this small seva, small service for this work. So I'll start with I'll make a sharing of this PowerPoint, and then we will get into it. So our topic today, deciphering the science of consciousness. Lessons through frontier challenges in the foundations of science. This topic, consciousness, has become one of the biggest questions in almost every discipline of modern science today. So we will slowly get into it, how it is. More or less, our attempt today will be, we'll try to give a short introduction. We'll not go into detail of each field. We'll try to give idea uh, how it has come up. Uh, how to change this slide now? Next slide is touch tab. Huh? Ah, means okay. So the first thing, you see, the way we are all trained in today's modern education, modern science, in our, say, from nursery to PhD or postdoc, there is not a single word of soul, God, consciousness in our textbooks. So what we study for 25 or 30 years, basically that atoms and molecules, finally, electrons, protons. So this is one side, one way of looking reality. The way we are trained, the way we are educated, the way our minds are framed, not for 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, 25, 30 years, with thorough training, courses after courses. So when somebody asks you what is reality, basically, finally it is atoms and electrons and protons. On the other hand, the spirituality which most of us are very familiar with, even if some are practicing, some may not be practicing, especially in India, everybody has a good idea, born on this important land. So everybody has some, we hear in spirituality this part, soul, God, karma, all those things. So these two remains a kind of a two different worlds for a person. What is really true? What is truth? What is reality? On one side, I have the studies, the perspective, the knowledge. I am hearing, I am testing also many of them in the lab, and I have equipments also based on those understanding. And those I have gadgets, there are applications, so technology. So this is one side. Another side is the spiritual things which we hear. So the question remains, what actually is truth then? Are they compatible? Can they be combined? Or what is truth? What is reality? They in science we use this word reality, ultimate reality. So that is a one way putting into it in the form of a question. So we'll enter slowly. I'm just trying to put a thought in your all of your question in your on your mind. So we'll give a small, very simple, beautiful example, uh, uh, which we are all very familiar with, because everybody, this example, this understanding comes. Do not worry about this equation tan theta cos. This is nothing simple. Uh, we all have studied uh, projectile motion, Newton's laws. So when we throw a ball from our hand, right? So if I give the initial conditions, the angle, the velocity, then using our Newton's laws of motion equation, we can find out at what time where the ball will be. So this is the first picture which it shows. You have a ball and you throw it with the angle theta angle and some velocity u. So using your equation, in fact, not only you can know what time it will hit the ground again, also at different places you can know which time it will be where. This is called mechanics, is mechanistic. So you can replace the ball with other things, or big, if it is a big thing, you convert them into a combination of small particles and apply equation each particle, summate it or integrate it, whatever. So you have a system to kind of know the things. Then the beautiful example for this is, instead of ball, suppose you have a bird, a live bird. So like many times we have a parrot in the hand, parrot or a dove. So if you have a dove in hand and if you just drop it like this and you have roughly the angle, uh, the way it starts from where your hand is, right, or the bird sitting on the tree. So even though in the case of bird, live bird, I know the initial, the angle, and it was sitting there, suppose 0, initial velocity is 0. So even though I know the initial conditions and even though I have the equations of laws of motion, I will not able to find out after suppose 5 seconds where the bird will be. It is a mystery. It is open mystery for whole humanity on this planet today. You apply your equations, your Newton's laws, your physics you have studied for 25 years to find out at any given time t, for both suppose 10 seconds, 5 seconds, where the bird will be, you will not able to tell, because bird may not even land after 20 seconds, also 30, it may go to another tree, it may go to any direction, anywhere, or it may come back to you. If it is hungry, it may not fly, it may just come back and want more something from you. So naturally the question arises, what is there in that bird which is different from the ball? That is the crux of whole idea. If you analyze a bird materially, scientifically, medically, engineeringly, you can make out each and every organ, then see each and every neuron, and then apply your equations on each part, each element, divide into small elements. Still, it escapes our comprehension. It we cannot say where it will be, what it will be. So this is a very simple example. This was proposed not by us. This was proposed by a physicist, Paul Davis. This physicist was from Australia. He's still there. Mostly works uh, in UK. So this poses a challenge. A simple question poses a big challenge. Uh, what exactly, pinpointly, precisely is difference between matter and spirit? Means what is matter and life? Because life has a lot of matter inside, but there's something in life which is different from matter. So okay. So that's a very interesting. I request that those who are seriously interested in the topic of this consciousness, one of the important study in this journey of comprehending consciousness scientifically, logically, is to go through the history of modern science. It is very important because that training, the lack of that training today uh, brings actually one of the major cause of lack of conception about why there is something called consciousness. So I'll try to give you a short idea, and you all are intelligent and experienced. You can yourself go further, or many of you already know, must be knowing already. So how come all this is happening? Why this kind of divide, or why this kind of discrepancy? Uh, you see, what happens is when we started modern science 400-500 years ago, time of Newton, Galileo, and all those times. I'm talking of precisely of modern science. Uh, we uh, how we started, we assumed in the beginning that everything is finally made up of atoms, material particles. Uh, if you go more deeper, uh, we use the word point in mathematics. Remember this word point. We have been studying from childhood this word point, and same word comes in physics, point mass. So we assume that ultimate reality is finally a point which is a lifeless, massless, not only massless, which we say is a mass point mass, right? Massless, dimensionless, also lifeless, consciousnessless, everything less. So this model we assume, actually we assume is our starting, like the five axioms of Euler, our Euclid. So it starts from there, with the beginning of the mathematics. So the assumptions are very strong, and these assumptions are creating a big gap and havoc in our minds today. So this, when we started modern science with this, and it moves further and further very nicely. Acha, I will explain you. It's there in the slide itself. Is there. See here, this slide shows nicely development of modern science. So last 400-500 years development, on one side of development of science, we have concepts coming, newer applications coming, and from there technology coming, and we have laptop and mobile and whatnot in hand. That is one side of the development of modern science. On the other side, we had issues coming in the roots of modern science. Paradoxes, not ordinary paradoxes, the foundational issues. There are puzzles. Puzzles is not a big thing. You can today don't know, tomorrow you can solve. Tomorrow you don't know, after 100 years you can solve. But there are foundational issues. Foundation means the roots, the issues in the roots of modern science. They started coming in. This is one side. So right side is mostly known and we experience it, but the left side is very less known. So this foundation of science, the issues which started prevailing inside every discipline of modern science. And if you go into roots of this foundational disciplines, consciousness comes out. That's a beauty. That's a beauty. So the founders, so some of these founders like Heisenberg, Niels Bohr, von Neumann, Poincare mathematician, Planck, Schrodinger, many other. So they were very shocked that where actually our science is going, where is this taking us. I request that those who are interested to go to the books by the founders. I have given a short synopsis here, some of the books, like Heisenberg book. The Heisenberg who gave uncertainty principle is a book called Physics and Philosophy, Revolution in Modern Science. You see the word revolution in modern science. Schrodinger, famous monograph, What is Life, Mind and Matter, two mix combined. Another is Science, Theory and Man, Schrodinger. Philosophical Problems of Quantum Physics, Heisenberg. Niels Bohr, Atomic Physics and Human Knowledge. Then in the bottom corner, Light and Life by Niels Bohr. Just giving a sample, it will open up what issues, what challenges our
Probably Swamiji has now logged out or is not on the screen, so I'm just contacting him to rejoin. Might be some technical issue at his side. Please wait for some time. मुंद्रा जी, आप जरा उनसे संपर्क करके कहिए कि वे अपना संपर्क स्थापित करें वापस। यहाँ पर वो नजर नहीं आ रहे हैं। तो जिन स्वामी जी से संपर्क स्थापित करने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है, कृपया धैर्य रखें। हेलो। हाँ, तो बिना को वीडियो आवाज तो आयो है, लेकिन बस खुद को नहीं अपीयर हो जाया था। मैंने कुछ टेक्निकल इश्यू होसी बात है, कनेक्शन को इश्यू होसी। हाँ 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 हाँ, ठीक है। मैंने मेरे को वीडियो जो अपीयर कर रहा है और मेरे को माउस मूव कर रहा है, लेकिन अभी स्क्रीन पर को नहीं आया। मैंने उनका नंबर मैंने देगा क्या? हाँ हाँ हाँ। अनंत शेष दास जी, वीडियो हम लोगों को दिखाई दे रहा है, लेकिन आपकी तरफ से कोई स्वामी जी ने अभी ज्वाइन नहीं किया है। आप उनकी कनेक्टिविटी को स्टैब्लिश करने में प्रयत्न करें।
अनम्यूट करिए सर, अनम्यूट करिए।
हाँ जी,
हाँ, स्वामी जी को अनम्यूट करिए।
अनम्यूट कर दिया है। 1 मिनट।
ओके ओके ओके
हेलो,
ओके।
हाँ आ गया।
हाँ हाँ स्वामी जी, राइट।
थैंक यू थैंक यू।
हाँ ठीक है, अभी आपको
हम
हेलो।
लोग साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी का बात कर रहे थे, तो साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी ने दिखा दिया एक थोड़ा सा।
हाँ हाँ, वो जरूरी भी था।
साइंस
हमारी चेतना नहीं बन सकती साइंस की, विज्ञान जगत के जो है कोई भी दृश्य जा सकता है। ठीक है, आप आगे
ठीक।
अपने लेक्चर
तो
से।
we'll resume, हाँ?
या
So about science in depth, right? So in this, when our scientists, our founders And whole scenario, and that is the reason that your this kind of books, writings, and papers were started coming in. Actually, if you see the next slide, this one, on the surface of the glass of natural sciences, it may look atheistic, but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. So this Heisenberg is our same famous Heisenberg who gave us uncertainty principle. Actually, if you see this period of 1901 till 1930, in 30 years, whole modern science issues were modern science completely changed in this 30 years. In fact, in this 30 years, science went out of the hands of scientists. Uh, means it completely changed. So because in these 30 years, starting from our Planck's black body radiation, and then slowly going into the quantum physics, uh, and then uncertainty, Schrodinger, all this, just these 30 years, actually founders were convinced and clear that now no more the way we thought we can handle science. So I'll try to slowly enter into the see, that is why there is a book by Planck, Max Planck, Where is Science Going? He was surprised and shocked. The science which we started, science which we were doing with a somebody is doing some sketching on the screen. If you can avoid, please. So this is book means Max Planck is one of the founders of modern physics, quantum physics. He was surprised, and this book many of you can refer. He was surprised where this science is going. Basically, we started from atoms and molecules, and finally it's taking to somewhere else. How come? So that's why we say from atoms and points back to God. All the scientists, in fact, Schrodinger, these books, inside there are chapters, return to ancient thought, turn to ancient knowledge, all those. So this became a so now how and why, how this came, how this led to consciousness thing. This is a quote by Schrodinger: consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, physics, chemistry, for consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It cannot be accounted for in terms of anything else. So this is Wigner. It was not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to the consciousness. Okay, I'll explain you a little bit, the little glimpse, little idea about the issue. What exactly is the issue? So take for example any matter, any particle. So our understanding from beginning of modern science was, suppose you take anything, suppose a box or any piece of thing, right? So our understanding is that this reality or anything in this part of reality is finally made up of atoms. So this box is there, so you can divide it and it becomes, finally you have small atoms, right? So that is what understanding we started with. Remember in the beginning that what is reality? So science says is basically atoms and electrons and protons, right? So okay, atom is fine. Then you get inside and you find electron, nucleus, and then electron. So when our modern science, the developments hit the electron, actually everything was shocked, and we are in shock from that time. Means last 80 years, those who really are in depth of the science, they are in shock. Why? Because we could not and still do not understand what is electron. That is a crux of it. Means this understanding this question, what is electron, has changed one after another. Definitions have been changing, our understanding have been changing, and so much so that it finally gave a way towards the idea of consciousness. You will, that is a mystery. It is like a writing a biography of electron. Means in the beginning we thought electron is a wave. Later we thought it is a particle. After some time we realize no, it is a combination of both wave and particle. Though we do not understand what it really means, that something is particle wave also, but okay, that's what it is. Then we come to the point, well, it is a wave function. It's not just a wave particle. And then, okay, wave function, then what is wave function? Which is a mystery. Then you come to the point, well, you cannot talk about wave function, you can only put in the terms of mathematics, that's all. Stop it there. You take a modulus, square it, and you get the probability. So it's became a very amazing and very questionable thought that where we are going. Means a simple electron we are trying to understand, and we came to a point of a wave function, and we have equation of Schrodinger equation. What is wave function we don't understand. And you see, if you go inside the literature, inside deep into the works, the Schrodinger gave this wave function, this name, this psi, and this Schrodinger equation, which is one of the core heart of quantum physics. No? And among themselves, the scientists, his friends, and Schrodinger, when they go for picnic, they were joking among themselves with Schrodinger together. What is actually psi is? This is one of the poem, one of the small poem on the boat they were sharing with Schrodinger. Erwin means Erwin Schrodinger. With his psi, this psi can do calculations quite a few. Means you can use this psi to do some calculations, right? We use Schrodinger equation to solve some problem. But one thing has not been seen, just what does psi really mean? So this was a mystery for Schrodinger himself. So this, if you see, if you contemplate, and if you go through their works of all these founders, you will see that this psi, this wave function, is not just a wave. We'll get into it later, what actually it could be. But idea is that led to the conception of consciousness different from normal matter or wave. That's a beauty that requires further going into it. To put it in a very short, giving you a hint so that puzzles doesn't remain. This psi turned out to be like a possibility wave, not a normal wave, like a set of possibilities. That's why I say sometimes they say wave of possibility or possibility wave. Means in mathematics we put it in terms of probability. So well, and it is not a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, it spreads throughout the universe. It is a huge thing. So slowly we'll get into later about this. Okay. I give you a simple another example. Hmm. This is another person, von Neumann, one of the person involved in consciousness, very brilliant person, mathematical physicist. He gave in computer science lot of contribution. So this is a book, Mathematical Foundations of Quantum Mechanics. He gave very simple point which all of us can understand very simply. These are in the end of the book. All these people actually started entering into this because of the issues coming out in the modern science. So he gave a very simple thing. You see the act of observation. Anything which we see, how we see. For example, suppose I have an object here and I'm using a microscope to see this object. So he said, in any act of observation, there are three things involved. One is the object which you are seeing, okay? The microscope, the instrument which you use to see it, and the observer, mean the you yourself. So the observation is one of the starting point in our modern scientific investigation, means you first observe, right? So he defined observation into three parts: the object, the instrument, and the observer. So here object is suppose this box, and you have instrument called microscope or any telescope, anything, and then you yourself are observing. So that's how on the slide there is object, instrument of observation, and observer. So in the let us say you remove this microscope or telescope and you have now this object here. So you have an object and now you have an instrument, the eyes, which is seeing this object. Then question is, who is the observer? The instrument which we are using to see this object, the eye, or with modern science you can go further, retina, deeper and deeper as the century progresses. But finally, who is the observer? The third part which we started with. So that issue of consciousness again comes in, even just by analyzing simple act of observation. Without a conscious observer, the person beyond these waves and particles, unless there is an observer beyond this observation act itself is not complete. And same applies to the wave function, the possibilities waves, which came in the form of paradox, Schrodinger's cat paradox, which we are not discussing now. Idea behind is the same, that if you have set of possibilities, you need somebody to decide which way to go. Who is that who decides? That is the question. Who is the decision maker? Means suppose on the door, you are standing and you can go this way, that way. Finally, you will decide, right, which direction to go. So among the set of possibilities, which is like psi, the wave function, which gives you combination of many wave functions, right, many waves. Finally, who is the who makes the decision, the direction that this is the final thing to go. So like this, the issue started coming in modern science. Today, what we are trying to do is to give you a glimpse in different areas, and then each subject, it's like a big thing, like physics side big thing, mathematics one thing goes deeper into like a many discussion further one. Today, just a glimpse, a small glimpse in different areas, how this consciousness issue cropped in. Similarly, in mathematics, uh, this issue became so deep, you will not imagine. Actually, you will be shocked. Uh, huh, 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 huh. Yeah, we will not go details into this. So you will surprise that each the issue became so deep that every concept which we study from childhood, whether it's a concept of velocity, mass, acceleration, any concept which we study, these concepts are useful, they work nicely in some domain, but they are incomplete. Very strong words. This our founders realize. Heisenberg actually says in his book Physics and Philosophy that all these concepts, they work very fine, they are very good, but they are still incomplete. Actually, if you go in detail, in depth, every concept without consciousness is incomplete. Whether it is a concept of velocity, whether it's a acceleration, whether it is mass, whether it's energy even, without consciousness, these concepts become incomplete. How it is, we'll explain later in detail. It is a beautiful thing. Uh, Similar example is in mathematics. Mathematics, the big shock came in physics in 30 years, first 30 years, 1901 to 1930. Same came in mathematics, in the foundations of mathematics. And like finally in physics, it culminated in uncertainty principle and Schrodinger equation. Here they culminated into Gödel's incompleteness theorems. Means finally if you go and root, things are, this, see, the name itself is incompleteness theorem. And the issue very simple, that even the numbers which we use day and night, physicists use, mathematicians use, our stock market people use, even business use, everybody use numbers now, 1 2 3 4. To define a number, suppose 2, uh, it is not possible to completely define a number without consciousness. That's the kind of issue, very deep it came in. To put it simply, to give a hint, actually every concept including number requires a meaning, and meaning does not lie on paper or on computer. Meaning lies here in the consciousness. To put a very simple idea, understanding, meaning lies in consciousness, and without meaning no concept is complete. That is why every concept, though useful, they are not useless. They are working and significant in a domain, but they are not fully complete. That's a simple idea, but it requires further details. In neuroscience, same issue. However, this little brain which we all are using day and night, how it works, same thing. That mm, The issue of experience. Who is actually experiencing? Like, I see a flower, I see somebody. Who is finally experiencing is a big issue. You can understand how the neuron fires are happening, which frontal lobe, which lobe of the brain things are processing. All this you can understand. But finally, what is this experience and who is experiencing? The same issue is in neuroscience, which led to the question of that without consciousness, it's not possible to explain. That's why they divided the problem into easy problem, hard problem. So the who is actually experiencing, so like same, and also the issue of decision making, who is finally making a decision of going in one direction. So who is the decision maker? like this. So these issues are appearing in every discipline: neuroscience, philosophy, artificial intelligence, psychology, law. Even in law there are now departments, law and neuroscience in America in university. Means because issue is very simple, that if there is nothing like consciousness different from this matter, from these neurons, then who is finally responsible? Suppose I do a crime, right? So person says, well, it's some firing happened in my neuron. I am not responsible. So who is finally responsible for action? The sense of responsibility is to be given to whom? To a specific neuron in the frontal lobe of the brain, or because of the firing of carbon atoms inside in the cell? Who is finally responsible? So that issue cannot be resolved without consciousness. In fact, many of the lawyers, people who are working in law, have turned towards consciousness studies. We have articles in our journal on consciousness by lawyers. Then quantum physics, which we were discussing, trying to give a hint, mathematics, like that, all disciplines. So in Vedanta, in Vedantic perspective, what is the idea? At this current life, the life which we have now, the body which hands we are using, it is basically made up of the physical aspect, the body which we are using, the psychological thing, our mind, the thinking, the intelligence and all, and the soul, the spirit, which is finally using this whole machinery. So physical aspect which we all can see and touch, the psychological aspect is more inner, but you can feel it. You cannot really see it, but you can feel it. And the soul is you can see in the symptoms. So consciousness is said to be one of the symptom of the soul, the chetana. Chetana we say in Hindi. So it is defined as a symptom, non-material and fundamental property of Atman. And so here we have tried to put in a very short the definition of consciousness, which is actually to define itself. Consciousness is a big issue in today. We have a lot of researches, a lot of works in different areas, but definition itself is a big problem. So we have made a small attempt. There are two parts of the definition. One is basic definition. Oh, sorry, this there will be advanced definition will be AB. So one is basic definition. Basic definition is uh, awareness experience. Means, oh, I'm aware of things around me, what is happening there, this person is sitting, this person is sitting, the awareness or the experience of the things around you, of you. So then in this they also we have put level 0, level 1, because this awareness, when you go further, many things you can see, like computer is also seem to be, oh, it is looking like aware of things around, interacting or chatting, right? Or the very machines nowadays, very smart machines. So then you go further. If there is a doubt with that, then you come to the point of self-awareness, which only the consciousness possesses. I mean, like the quality of conscious. Self-awareness means I know that I know. Machine cannot say this statement. Self-awareness means I know about what I am knowing. So this is a difference from computer. However advanced or AI may progress, artificial intelligence, this self-awareness, it is a property of only consciousness, irrespective of machine, however they advance. An advanced definition of consciousness involves not only self-awareness, which is basically actually comes under Chit, Sat Chit Anand, we say, no? Advanced definition involves personality also. Means likings, color, the relationships, there's a personal aspect involved. So that's a further level of consciousness definition. So today's modern developments, modern scientific developments have come up to the point of basic definition, though purely definition is not fixed yet, but this understanding is clear among the scholars about the self-awareness is a basic definition which you cannot, basic idea of consciousness which you cannot get away with. In fact, if you see all the machines, whether it's a computer or our logic or programming, they fail, even the mathematical logic, they only fail at the point of self-reference. They go inside the infinite loop. The famous, like, I am a liar, this statement, right? You go inside an infinite loop. If you put in the computer, it goes in a loop, infinite. So all this Gödel's theorem, most Turing's, all these are basically finally coming from a basic problem is the what you call self-referencing, because soul or consciousness can have has a property of self-referencing. A machine does not have. So that's a basic definition, and advanced definition slowly, we hope slowly it will come inside. Already there are a lot of discussion on this. And to end, one of these consciousness has two categories. One is finite consciousness, another infinite consciousness. So many times this doubt comes in the minds of the seekers. Well, this infinite consciousness is like a, it cannot have a form. It is like a completely nirakar and completely like formless anything. So no, it is not necessary that infinite consciousness should have only, it can have form also. One of the examples from mathematics is parabola. Parabola is an infinite structure. Anywhere you zoom in, it will have same shape. It is infinite, it still has a form. So infinite consciousness, infinite can still have a form. Finite also can have, infinite can also have. Both possibilities are there. So we will end for today's presentation. Here are one or two books. This is the Quantum Physics and Consciousness, which Bhakti Institute ourselves with the Bharati Sanskrit Sansthan. We had a beautiful conference. These are proceedings. Very beautiful book. This contains very beautiful articles by the founders as well as current renowned thinkers. And this consciousness book, this is the latest journal we just released. I will end here. Thank you very much.
नमस्कार स्वामी जी।
नमस्कार।
मेरी आवाज जा रही है?
हाँ, पूरा अच्छे से आ रही है गोपाल।
हाँ, आज हमने मैं सबसे पहले अपना प्रणाम निवेदन करना चाहूँगा ब्रजेंद्र स्वामी जी महाराज को, जिन्होंने अपना समय दे करके और हमें इतनी सरल भाषा में और इतनी अच्छी तरह समझाने की कोशिश की। कितना समझ पाए वो तो अब हमारे अगले कार्यक्रमों में जब डिस्कस करेंगे तो पता चलेगा। इन्होंने क्वांटम फिजिक्स और कॉन्शियसनेस के विषय में शुरू किया था इलेक्ट्रॉन से। इलेक्ट्रॉन क्या है वो बताया, फिर उसके बाद डिफरेंस ऑफ मैटर एंड लाइफ, और फिर आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, न्यूरो साइंसेस, इन सबको लेके इन्होंने इतनी सरल भाषा में हमें समझाने का प्रयत्न किया। लेकिन स्वामी जी, हम जितना समझ पाए हैं वो तो हम जानते हैं। हम इसी कड़ी को चालू रखना चाहते हैं और आपसे निवेदन करना चाहते हैं भविष्य में आप और आपकी संस्था के अन्य गुणीजन हमें इस विषय पर समय समय पर हमारा निमंत्रण स्वीकार करके हमें अपने आशीष वचनों से समृद्ध करें, हम इस विषय में और आगे कुछ जान सकें। इसके लिए हम आपसे पुनः निवेदन करते हैं। आज हमारे श्रोताजन इतनी अच्छी तरह जुड़े और सबों ने हमारे स्वामी जी को सुना, इसके लिए मैं सभी श्रोताजन को धन्यवाद देता हूँ और मैं आशा करता हूँ कि भविष्य में हम ऐसे ही सुनते रहेंगे। अगर हमारा कोई भी श्रोताजन का किसी का भी अगर कोई प्रश्न हो तो वो अगर हमें लिख के भेजें तो हम स्वामी जी को ये फॉरवर्ड कर सकते हैं, ताकि अगले सेशन में उसके ऊपर हम चर्चा कर सकें। मैं एक बार पुनः संसद की तरफ से आप सबका प्रणाम निवेदन करता हूँ, धन्यवाद देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
इसी धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के साथ हम आज का सत्र यहीं पर समाप्त करते हैं और इसकी तीसरी कड़ी जब शुरू होगी तो उसके पहले आप सब लोगों को उपयुक्त समाचार दे दिए जाएंगे। और मेरा सभी से अनुरोध है कि जिस कॉन्शियसनेस की बात की जा रही है और जिस चेतनता की बात की जा रही है उसको समझने में तो वक्त लगेगा और हो सकता है हम पूर्ण रूप से उसे समझ न सकें, एक आभास मात्र हमारे हृदयों में हो जाएगा और उसको हम समझने का जितना प्रयत्न करेंगे उतना ही हम ईश्वर के नजदीक, ईश्वर और के बारे में अगर हम चर्चा करें तो ये दोनों कहीं ना कहीं आपस में एक दूसरे का प्रतिबोध देते हैं हमें। तो यहीं पर हम आज की इस सभा को समाप्त करते हैं और आप सभी से प्रार्थना है कि अगली सारी कड़ियों को आप सुनने का प्रयत्न करेंगे, जिससे कि आप जो है इस संसार जगत से हटकर जो है चेतनता की ओर और ईश्वर की ओर उन्मुख हों। धन्यवाद सभी को।
प्रणाम। मैं पुनः स्वामी जी को प्रणाम करता हूँ। नमस्कार।
सभी को प्रणाम, धन्यवाद।
मेरा भी प्रणाम। स्वामी जी, बहुत कुछ सुनना बाकी है।
ये तो शुरुआत है।
तो अंतस्करण चतुष्टय पर नहीं आए, मन बुद्धि चित्त अहंकार, वो भी आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है। और दूसरे यूनिवर्सल कॉन्शियसनेस और जो फंडामेंटल क्वेश्चन जो उठा दिया गया कि कॉन्शियसनेस सब जगह है। अरे प्रहलाद ने तो दर्शन कर लिया, लेकिन हमको भी दर्शन कराइए उस ब्रह्म का कण कण में, उसका आभास तो बता दीजिए क्या है। तो ये प्रश्न सारे अभी बाकी हैं और हम आपको छोड़ेंगे नहीं।
हाँ, नहीं आप हमें यहाँ हम साथ में ही चलेंगे इस जर्नी में। श्योर, भगवान की कृपा से आगे बढ़ते रहेंगे।
हाँ, अभी तक तो आपने वो जो जैसे बृहस्पति स्वामी जी ने कहा कि कॉन्शियसनेस का जो टिप ऑफ द आइसबर्ग भी अभी तक टिप को भी टच नहीं किया। आपने थोड़ा सा अंगुली दिखाई उधर।
या वही हमारा लक्ष्य था। ये स्टार्टिंग स्टेप ना, अगर ये क्लियर हो जाए कि एक ऐसी चीज है कॉन्शियसनेस करके, कोई ऐसी नॉन मैटेरियल चीज है साइंटिफिकली लॉजिकली, पहला स्टेप अगर क्लियर हो गया आगे स्टेप बहुत आसान है।
बिल्कुल। ये जो चेष्टा रही कि कॉन्शियसनेस को हम मटेरियल या एनर्जी के टर्म्स में एक्सप्लेन कर देंगे, आज ये क्लियर हो गया कि ये संभव नहीं है।
एग्जैक्टली, ये बहुत यही मेरा मेन गोल है, यही मेन गोल है।
और आपने बता दिया कि ये कॉन्शियसनेस जो है आत्मा का एक गुण है।
एग्जैक्टली,
तक मैं समझाऊं।
हाँ।
तो चलिए अब आगे चलेंगे।
हाँ, एक्चुअली अगर ये स्टार्टिंग स्टेप ना मुंजा जी, अगर ये क्लियर हो गया तो इतना आगे तक आदमी जाएगा, फिर एंड नहीं है। लेकिन मोस्टली आदमी, मतलब जो सीकर है, जो पर्सन है, यहीं पे अटकता है कि कॉन्शियसनेस मैटेरियल है, नॉन मैटेरियल है, और सही में है कि नहीं साइंटिफिकली।
बहुत अच्छा। चलिए अब
नमस्कार।
आप स्वस्थ रहिए और इसी प्रकार हम पर कृपा करते रहिए।
धन्यवाद।
हम यहीं पर इस सभा को समाप्त करते हैं अगली कड़ी के लिए। धन्यवाद।